at any point in time, any athlete watches this, kind of know that you're not alone. And the reason that they're so successful is just solely based off of storytelling. But
You don't need to be 100% right. You don't have to know all the answers.
I love that you said that. I never took it from that point of view of
This is
being.
how you get better.
To all those that come to this happy place, welcome.
What's going on, guys? It is Happy Place Podcast. I'm excited to have my good friend Kyle on today. We actually got really close over probably like the last 2 years when it came to working at NetChecks. Kyle's an interesting subject because he'll probably tell you that NetChecks is like his first like real job, and it's probably going to relate to more people that watch this and the point of this channel anyways. So I hope you guys get a lot out of this. Let's get into it. Kyle, let's tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a background. You don't have to go from like childhood, but let's just go like college.
Okay, I'm not going to start with childhood. I don't remember much. So, my background essentially is athletics. I could probably relate to you a little more, but obviously grew up around a baseball field, being my brother being a professional athlete and being 12 years older than me. So, kind of grew up around that space. I played college baseball at the University of Louisiana Monroe, then transferred to a little college in Mississippi called Hines Community College, and then ended up finishing my career over at Southeastern. Played there for my last 2 years, graduated in general or sports administration and management. So with that being said, with that type of degree, I had absolutely no clue of what I wanted to do in life. Baseball was the end all be all, no backup plan, nothing. So in order to get in the professional world, I didn't know what route to take. I just knew I wanted to do something that was remotely competitive, and was kind of pushing me to do more than just show up 8 to 5. So my first job actually started the day COVID hit, the day the world
Which
shut
is
down.
nuts.
I got a
Which is literally
right, and
nuts.
I got a job the day the lockdown started. All that was going on, and essentially it was the complete opposite of what I do today. It was actually essentially what I was doing was working for the unemployment office, signing checks, just kind of, and I was probably the only person in the country besides everybody I worked with that worked in the office every single day during COVID. Um, but it wasn't the right step for me. It was a stepping stone, but it wasn't the correct path. But at the
Yeah.
time, everybody knows you needed a job, so
I think
took
this
it.
is like a big learning experience for whoever truly listens to this podcast. So far, like having Logan on, seeing where he started, where I started, where you started, and how we end up in what we do now is literally crazy because it's like we have these ideas or you have no idea. Like me, I was so one track mind. I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm getting in the healthcare space. I'm going to become either a chiropractor. I'm going to work in management, healthcare, and then now I'm in sales. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I think it's just insane how many different paths there are
Right.
to success. And at the end of the day, it's like staying true to who you are is the biggest thing. And whatever you're doing is just make it the best situation possible. And to know that you came from a space that literally had no sales experience, basically at the end of the day, you felt like it probably wasn't a real job.
No,
And
never.
yeah, and it's like you didn't have like someone to push you. It's like coming from like a collegiate athlete space and then going into that, I feel like, dude, it's probably in your eyes was probably like a step down.
Yeah, and that was the big thing is the path I did take. It's actually been very successful because I can now tell previous teammates or kind of other buddies, because I don't know if you know this, my brother, he and I actually ended our careers the same year,
Yeah,
but
which
he's
is
12,
crazy too. Yeah, crazy.
but he's 12 years older. So also I didn't really have knowledge of what's after baseball because
Yeah.
we both were experienced this at the same time. And me and him talk to a lot of people that are just leaving athletics. And the biggest issue And I think college, high school, all this is when you are really good at athletics and you become successful in the collegiate or professional space, nobody kind of tells you what's life after that. Nobody kind of gives you guidance or like tools to be successful after that. Obviously, you're going to have that innate ability inside of you to have a good work ethic and push yourself. That's kind of already pre-built. But once you're done, you're so lost. And like,
Yeah.
that's why I kind of tell people my work story or my story after baseball is because I'm not the only one that experiences this. Pretty much all of us do.
Yeah.
And that's why if
100%.
at any point in time, any athlete watches this, kind of know that you're not alone in this situation because that's the issue is I felt very alone in it. But once I kind of left that space, once I found net checks, it was kind of, and you know this, you're a part of the interview process. There's no reason that I should have been hired over some people. I had zero qualifications for sales, but the big selling point for me was athletics. And then number two is I just straight up was honest with our boss, Craig, and was like, dude, I've been trying to get into sales for 3 years and everybody tells me I need sales experience. There is no possible way to get it unless you hire me.
Unless you start, yeah. And that,
Yeah.
I think realistically, I think more collegiate professional athletes who don't seek sports as a career anymore, or it's like they're retiring, they're done, maybe they phased out, whatever it is, I think more of those people really need to start speaking out more because it's such, even though it's like, all right, one in whatever of people actually make it to collegiate sport, and then it's even bigger for professional sports, and then they make it to the major leagues or to make it to the NFL or whatever it is, it's even smaller. But it's like that percentage of people that leave the NFL, that leave professional baseball, that leave collegiate sports, you notice like a huge dip off when it comes to their success. Like they had such highs in sports, and then it's such a huge dip off most of the time that I think sales is probably going to be their biggest strength. I think anyone that's played professional sports where they've been under pressure, they've high stakes situations, whatever it is, can perform exceptionally well at sales because it's a similar atmosphere. Like it's still high pressure. There's a lot of things you have to do. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be able to perform in front of others. Like all those skills come from sports.
Yeah.
And even if you were a high school athlete, like it gives you the same situation. Like being under pressure is huge. And I don't think
Right.
enough people talk about it, what they're doing after those things to help people like you, to help people who've been in the professional space so they don't lose all the money that they've earned. Because like that's a big thing because they don't know what to do. So they end up losing all the money that they've earned over the last 5, 10, 15 years and they end up going bankrupt. Like we hear that situation all the time. Unless you're like a Tom Brady, like people that are like just like insanely secure. Yeah, like insanely secure, like they're worth 500 to $1 billion. Like they're not going to lose money. Like they could spend all that money in their life and still not spend it all.
Right.
So I think that's a huge thing. And I think that's why I think this podcast, especially this episode, is going to be beneficial to so many people because there are so many people that are in your space. It's like sports was their entire life growing up. And then like, what was it after? Nothing. Like you didn't think of anything else. All you thought about was sports. Like I'm going to be this person. And now that I'm not, like, how does that affect me mentally?
Right.
That's a huge aspect.
A big thing too that was very detrimental to me is I looked at a backup plan always as I know I'm going to fail. So like that's why I never had a plan B when it came to sports. And also nothing I did in college was geared towards my life today. Nothing I took in college, not a single thing. I was like you. I took all kinesiology classes.
Yep.
I took all anatomies. I ended up taking 7 maths in the first 3 semesters of college,
which is crazy.
I wanted to be a math teacher. Why?
What?
No clue. That sucks. I wanted to be a math teacher. Then I went from here. I wanted to be a communications major. Then I ended up being sports admin, and I was like, sports admin is where I want to fall. But there's nothing geared. There's no like, oh, what aspect do you want to do in sports? And then obviously a big thing that I find detrimental to athletes in college or professional once they end, what is their profession they typically go in? They go and coach.
Yep.
And that's a big reason.
Yeah, and then it's like starting off at the bottom again. Like they were such high athletes, unless you're like a big status name. Like They
Right.
all have to restart. It doesn't matter if they're in the NFL or not. It's like, oh, they have to get bumped down to high school, and then you have to work
Yeah.
to like a D3 school, then a D2, then D1, and then hopefully get to a big D1 school, and then hopefully make it's like it's starting all over.
Right.
And
And
like,
that's why I believe that sales is kind of the perfect fit for athletes because especially baseball players, half the sports failure. Literally
yeah,
7 out of 10 times you're failing. 70% of the time you're failing.
yeah,
I think that's why sales is so perfect because you one know how to deal with rejection, two can overcome the adversity of cold calling because
yeah,
that is one of the hardest things in the world that I've done. I've faced pitchers from LSU. I've faced ex big leaguers. Like I've done all this, and there's nothing is as hard as calling somebody in Hawaii when you're at 9 o'clock in the morning and it turns out they're still sleeping because it's
yeah,
really 10:30 at night, whatever time it is. So that's why I find it very beneficial. It was a culture shock, but not to a degree where it was like undoable because you've been in this pressure situation before. That's why I find sales so beneficial and why I've been successful at it is because I accredit it always to my past career in baseball. There's nothing like baseball.
Oh,
Every
agreed.
sport's there's
Every sport's
nothing like
different.
baseball to where you majority of the time are failing and you have no choice but to overcome it. Same thing with sales for me. If you don't get the sale, you can't dwell on it. You have to go find another one.
Yeah.
That's why I found such a niche and net check so far and I've been successful is because of the past there.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Like to know you're going to fail. I literally just did a video on this, and I just did to kick off the SDRs, like the beginning of our year. I did a segment on like plan to fail. Like everyone knows the quote. It's like if you fail to plan, you're never gonna get ahead or whatever it is. If you plan to fail, ultimately, no one wants to do that. Like we always write goals out, like, oh, I want to be this, and I'm gonna do this in a year, and I'm gonna do this in 5 years, and all this crap. It's like it's great, and the more often that you write your goals down and you read them, like of course you're gonna be
Right.
more geared to have more success. But even still, people write them all down and then they end up never getting them anyways.
Right.
If you plan ahead of time, like, all right, I have this goal, and I'm gonna have X amount of dollars in 2 years and then I write every possible thing that I know myself. Like I know myself. I know I'm going to want to go spend money here and I'm going to want to do these things. If I go ahead and put those on a calendar or I go, hey, look, these are the things that typically I do. Yeah, I can now plan them out. I can have my own failures planned, meaning that I'm going to spend maybe $2 or $3 here and I'm going to spend $20 here. And now I go, I'm going to plan them out so I don't just fall into the trap of doing them all the time. Maybe I'm doing them once or twice. Maybe I'm doing them a couple times a year, and I can already plan for that. So I already have my budgeted fixed for my failures. I think
Right.
more people need to start doing that. Not just writing your goals out like it's great, but realistically,
Right.
you know yourself. You know where you're weak at, and you know that I'm probably going to do this. Go ahead and plan it out because
Yeah.
what that allows you to do is revert and go somewhere else. I can reroute myself after that first cheat day I've had on a diet. I can revert myself after spending money on something I didn't need to spend money on. Like I've been doing that now for close to 6 months to a year. And it's very noticeable that I can now like, oh, I see these habits starting or me falling back into an old routine that I don't want to be in. And I can immediately get out of them as fast as I possibly can. So it's huge.
Yeah.
And we have to know how to deal with rejection. Most people, I would say, if you haven't been in sports, you haven't been in sales, you probably don't know how to deal with rejection. Not well, at
Unless
least.
it's a breakup, but
Yeah. And even still,
that's
you don't know
fine.
how to do it well. Like
Right.
you go off the deep end. Like most people like immediately just like 180 degrees the other way. Like if you can be yourself and stay true to your own personal brand, it's huge during any type of failure because it allows you to get out of it so much quicker. Like
Right.
look at the things that you did with CSM. Like you didn't get it the first couple of times, but you've now been dealing with rejection for so long and objections that I know that all I have to do is keep doing what I need to do. Keep focusing on the next thing. If I keep working for that, eventually I'm going to get it.
Right.
And now you've been promoted and you've been promoted without any sales experience within inside of 2 years,
Yeah.
which is
And
crazy.
that's kind of what I was going to talk about. Is you were talking about to be able to the fear of failure. I feel like business owners, especially, they have that in them, and maybe they got great ideas for a business. And you know how the stats are. I think it's 1 in 5 small businesses that just open close
Yeah.
within a year. I
Yeah.
feel like there's too many people in the world that just will refuse to open their doors because of that reason. And I guess I've never understood that. I can't comprehend that. And that's why I think I'm good at sales, is because I'm very naive. I think that's a big reason why I'm successful at it, because there's nobody that can tell me I can't do it. If anything, that's going to make me show you that I can. And that's one thing too, is don't be afraid to fail,
Yeah.
because you kind of know it's going to happen. You're not going to win every sale. You're not going to crush every business venture you come a part of, but you're never going to be successful if you don't try it. So
Yeah.
that's why I've been able to be successful and actually got the promotion you're talking about. Never 2 years ago did I think I would actually be closing my own deals now.
It's
And
crazy.
in my first 5 days of work, I closed 7 deals.
Yeah, and you've
And
already maxed out quota. Like you hit 100%. Like you're full quota. Like
right.
that's insane. Like you've
Yeah.
sourced 10 grand in 5 or 6 days. It's like
Right.
you did that in 5 or 6 days. You still have, what is it, like we have 12 business days, 15
Yeah.
business days, something like that left in the month. It's like you could 3x your quota in
And
1
do I
month.
know what I'm talking? And do I know what I'm talking about to an extent? But there's
But
some
not
shit
perfect.
that pops up that I don't know. Because let's be honest, I'm 27 years old, and I'm talking to Janice, who's 52, has been in HR for 25 years. She might know a little more about HR than me, but it's all about, and I truly believe this, my confidence in what I'm saying, rather than, obviously you want to give them value, but if you don't know the answer, dude, there's nothing worse than lying about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And
think that's a big thing. People don't know. They're afraid to go, I don't know.
right.
I don't
And
know that answer, but let me be honest with you. Let me go find that answer for you. I can tell you, let me go get someone who knows the product better than I do.
right. And even if it's not HR sales, if it's, let's just say, medical device, the biggest thing that I've found that's been successful for me, for you, for all of us that have been SDRs, is how can you solve their problem?
Yep.
Or have them admit there is one. So whenever I started this role, obviously my new manager, and this is in North Carolina, I'm not used to not having a very, like, Craig was always there if I needed him. And obviously my manager now is probably like that, but it's been so busy with the new year and everything. I never thought I would just try to run a first call. I just have this script. That's the only thing I've been trained on so far. So I'm running calls by myself, which is unheard of in our company. We usually have managers sit on our calls. I haven't had one yet. So it is all on me. And I love that aspect because I'm used to that. But that's the biggest thing that I've found to make me successful so far. Is I had a lady the other day actually admit, she goes, I'm glad that you're so forthright with, if you don't know the answer, you're not trying to skew me on some BS. You're actually trying to find out and learn as we go too. And that's the reason that I ended up selling the deal, is because I was the only one that she's met with so far that was transparent enough and just being a human. I mean, I don't understand. I guess because I'm naive and I haven't been in sales. I've never understood the salesy guy that's just there to get it. I love talking to people, and now it's great. I can actually sit on a Zoom rather than cold call.
I think at the end of the day,
yeah,
salesmen get such a bad rap because people get into it for the wrong reason. Like, of course, everyone wants to get in sales for, I can make as much money as I possibly can by doing work, which is great. It can be an upside for you or a huge downside for you if you don't have the work ethic, the skill to be able to do it. But like, I literally was telling the team the other day, was we're in the business of persuasion, not convincing. Convincing means I'm trying to get someone to buy something that they don't want, don't need to be spending money on, and will not help them. What I'm in the business for is I'm persuading somebody that knows little about my product, that you are already going to buy this one. You're already going to be spending time and energy to this product, and you're trying to find the best thing out there. I'm in the business of persuading you that I'm the best product. That's all I do. Persuasion means I'm trying to help somebody use something or buy something that they need to make their life better.
Right.
Most salesmen don't look at it that way. They go, I need to convince somebody to buy something so I make more money. And I go, if you can help somebody and I can persuade them to buy a product that they're already going to spend money on and it's going to be better for them, you will do better than anyone else. And that means you're being honest the entire time. You're not lying to them 24/7. You're not trying to convince them to buy something they don't need, don't want, won't use. I think that's huge, realistically.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing is being able to have them talk. I feel that too many salesmen just overspeak, and then
Yep.
it ends up ruining the sale for them.
100%.
I think not enough people pull out enough information. They just, like you said, want to get that sale. And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, we're all in sales because we want to make money. But the real reason people like you and I get into sales is because we can control our income.
Yep.
Rather
100%.
than obviously I'd love to make $1 million.
And I can
That'd be
control
awesome,
my
but
time.
yes.
That's a big thing. I can control my time.
And then that's I think where people kind of get it wrong. I mean, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm only 27. I've been in sales for the last 3 years, and they got people that have been in sales for 40. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just know that I kind of won't ever run a sales process that way to where I'm just so greedy to where, and two, I don't think I'd enjoy sales
Yeah,
if it was
I wouldn't either.
if it was just I need to sell this, I need to sell
Yeah.
it. Obviously you need to sell it, but dude, it's 2024 now. Like, people can call BS. People
Yeah.
can sniff out the BS. And the big thing too is, like, find something you enjoy selling rather than what's going to pay out the most.
100%.
Because are there other jobs out there than what you and I do that probably pay you more for doing less? Yeah, but
Probably so.
at least you know you've got a good product you're selling and you believe in the product you're selling and you know it's going to be helpful. That's the biggest thing, is you actually know this is going to be beneficial. So therefore it makes your sale easy. Like, to be honest with you, like, the product's going to speak for itself. All you got to do is ask questions about why they need it.
Yeah.
That's been the easiest thing for me. I thought it was going to be real difficult making the transition, something I've never done before. Cold calling was hard at the beginning because I never done it, but I'm stubborn to where I just would bust out 100 the first day and really don't know what I'm talking about. But there's only one way to learn, it's by doing it. With this, it all speaks for itself, which is awesome. Like, when you were selling medical device, at first it was probably a little challenging, but you know that it's actually helping people.
Yeah. That's the
the best
biggest
part
thing.
about it.
If you can get into it for, I'm going to go help somebody, what career it is, like, does not matter. Like, if you believe enough in yourself that I'm doing this for a reason to help get in front of as many people as possible. If I get in front of more people, I can sell to more people. But I want to get in front of those people because I'm going to help them. If they're not the right person, like, I've said this too many times on the phone, that, hey, look, I want to meet with you guys just because I don't know. Like, I want to help you, but I don't know if we're the right product. If we're not the right product, we should not be spending any more time than 20 minutes together.
Right.
Because I'm gonna get out in your hair and out of it, because my job is to not cause chaos. It's to help time. It's to help you move forward in your career. It's to help your business get better. If my product is not going to do that for you, I do not need to be spending my time and your time wasted. There's no reason.
Right. And then it's really, like, transparency has been the best thing too, because, like, and you know how our sales process works. Like, you're talking about being able to find the solution, see if we're even a right fit, but also too letting them know that, hey, like, we are going to try to ask for your business at the end of the day if I find that it aligns.
Yep.
And they appreciate that so much more than you saying it's going to be this introductory meeting, see if we'd be a solution for you down the road. Like, they're more appreciative when you're not beating around the bush. Obviously, it depends on who you're talking to, CEO, CFO. CFOs, they like when you're straight to the point, and that's the best thing I love doing. When I was at SDR, I really called CFOs and I hammered them down, because I don't like beating around the bush either, because I feel like if I am, I'm sort of lying sometimes. Like, whenever I feel like I'm trying to sugarcoat some things, I like the transparency of, hey, this is why I'm calling. This is what I want to do. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Okay, when does that work? Then when we get on the call, be like, hey, if we can help in this, and this, would it make sense to move forward together? If not, why? Is it
Yeah.
pricing? Okay, let me give you the most accurate pricing, and I'm not going to BS you on it. It isn't going to be cheaper than some of these people, and there's a reason for that.
Yep.
And
100%.
and they can also go, man, he's already admitting that he's not going to be cheaper for me than a QuickBooks or vice versa. But he's automatically telling me that. Let me see why. Because it intrigues him when you go, this isn't going to be what you think. This isn't going to be something is an investment. It's an investment into your company. And I'm assuming as a CFO, you're really pertinent to these investments that are going in. Are they going to be useful? So that's one thing too, is like, and you know it, it's harder to win business when there's something cheaper out there. That's why you got to provide the most value. And that's
100%.
And that's what we've been able to do.
When it comes to price, it's huge. Like, I didn't know we were going to get on this topic, but like when it comes to price, like we know we're not the highest end product, but we're a higher end product when it comes to the SaaS space. The price tag up front might be more than somebody super cheap like QuickBooks, Bamboo. Like we know those products are designed to be cheaper, but their capabilities are a lot more limited. So when we go, hey, look, our product is probably going to be a little bit more expensive than what you're currently using right now, but here's why. These are the things that I'm going to provide. And at the end of the day, not only does my product help the business, it's to put as much time back in your day as possible. Because if you didn't have to focus on payroll, and if you didn't have to focus on open enrollment, and you didn't have to focus on all these manual tasks that you're already doing, and I allowed you, the business owner, the person that's over HR, the person that's over finance for big companies or even small companies, like the owner, if I allowed you to put time, all that time, hours a week, hours or days a month or year back into your business to grow it, what does that ROI look like? That is huge. It's absolutely huge. And I think really, what can an individual take from this outside of like you own a business? An individual goes, hey, look, I need to look at my time and I need to go, what is going to make my calendar the most efficient? Where am I putting time that's useless? And this goes back to writing out your failures, writing out the things that you know is going to derail you in the beginning. And I go, these things are going to take time away from my success. Now, I'm not a robot. I'm a person, and I'm going to do these things at some point. But how about I allow myself the freedom to do those things instead of just randomly doing them over time, and I plan them out. I go, I'm going to have cake on my diet, or I'm going to go do these things when I'm trying to save money, but I'm going to plan them out now so I have something to look forward to. Instead of just randomly going to do things, I can plan it out, look forward to doing them, and that always sets me up for success. It doesn't derail me.
Right.
I think that's huge. Like, that's the same thing. It's like, hey, look, a business owner is planning out their business, and everybody looks at it that way. I want my business to succeed. No one does that for the individual. Like, no one does that. I didn't do it until recently. Like, if more people did that, and especially people just entering into the professional space, like they're getting out of sports, they're getting out of college, they're getting out of high school, or say they just haven't worked in a long time, like, those people, if you can go, hey, look, these are the things that are probably going to derail me. If I plan them out and actually do them when I want to do them and just do them randomly, my success and whatever I'm doing is going to be better, which is going to lead to a better and happier me. I think it's huge. Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing too, is being able to find, and that was my hardest thing, leaving sports, was what's going to make me happy. Obviously, like, obviously, and you know me, dude, like I love money. I always want more, but does what I do actually, is it enjoyable from 8 to 5? Do I could make the most money in the world and be miserable, and I'm not going to do it because I hate being miserable. I hate being bored. I'm terrible at being bored. I am not good sitting in a little cubicle for 8 hours, just standing still. The big reason for me leaving sports was what's going to make me happy. And then, this was the issue I was talking about. I immediately was like, well, I should give back what I've learned in this game. I'm very good with kids. I'm very good at coaching. I have so much knowledge for the game, and I tried it, and I'm like, Dude, I don't want to do baseball anymore. Like I did my part. It sounds terrible. I did my part. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
And when that's all you know, dude, it's so hard to kind of see yourself outside of it to where it actually brings you down. You would think that the successful career I've had and stuff, I'd hang my hat on that and go, I did enough. I was kind of just over it. I was like, what's next, dude? What else can I do that's sort of similar to this, but I can find out if I'm good at these other things. And I was like, I've been told as a little kid, I'm a little salesman. I don't know why. I guess I was at the time very mischievous and just could kind of finagle my way out of things with my mom and dad. It was either that or a politician, which I can see still both. But that's the biggest thing too with athletes, man. And you see the ones that do get in the professional world, where do they go into? Where are they most successful? One, they open up some sort of business, and two, they're really good at sales.
Yeah.
They're really good at sales because of one, and I wish I could harp this upon other athletes as well. If there are other athletes watching this, lean on the connections you've made with the teams you played for. I went to 3 colleges. My first 4 sales at NetChecks were 4 dudes that I know their parents own companies. And then 2, on top of you playing, this is just baseball, you go and play summer ball. You got all those other teams. Like, that's why people in athletics are so good at sales, is because of the connections and relationships they made within their athletics. And then 2, there is no other profession in the world, maybe obviously, like if you're owning a major corporation like Elon Musk creating cars, he's going to fail
Yeah.
more times than he's successful. But there is nothing else in the world like failure in a sport. There's nothing else. There's nothing more consistent. There's nothing more consistent with failure than athletics. And that's why I think more people in athletics are geared towards sales or geared toward ownership, is because they want to be in control of that. They want to be in control of the failure. So that's what I found the most appealing for me when it came to NetChecks. Not just NetChecks, just sales in general. Is like, so you're telling me I'm going to fail more than I succeed. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing I've gotten to baseball. It's a little different, but I tell you what, it is by far like the most satisfying wins. Because
I
that's the
think
best part about failure,
I
is
think
when the wins come.
to add on to those two, like that you're gonna fail. Like that's a huge one.
Mhm.
We know that. I think the third one to add there is get used to being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with
Oh,
being
yeah.
uncomfortable. Like we hear that all the time, but mainly when it comes to communication. Like if you're not a good communicator, and I'm just saying like half decent, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to do what we're doing right now. You don't have to put yourself out on YouTube. You don't have to go speak at crowds. Like just become a half decent communicator. Like when you're cold calling, you have to be an expert at communication. You have to be a good listener to understand what exactly the person needs or wants. And then I have to be able to communicate a story, because I'm in the business of persuasion, not convincing somebody. I have to I have to go around convince and persuade somebody that my story is better for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can tell an effective story that carries weight without actually having to dive deep into anything, you are more likely to have a better or more successful life, business, career than most people that are out there. And you just have to be half decent at it. You either practice with people talking, you go listen to a podcast, go read a book on communication, go listen to somebody speak. Like, if you listen to enough people speaking, or we have people that shadow us when we're on the phone call, you can pick out little bits that resonate with you. Like you can go back when you first started cold calling, there were probably like 3 or 4 people that you go, I did this from this person, this from this person. Be a copycat, be you at the end of the day. But like when it comes to the skills that you need to be successful, be a copycat. Just do it in your own way. And I
Yeah.
don't think enough people do that. They don't go, let me go learn how to be a communicator and be put in pressure situations and still be successful.
And if you wanted to alter this conversation, shift it, you can look at your boy right behind your head there, your boy Walt. the reason that he was so successful is just solely based off of storytelling, based
Yeah.
off of a vision. If you can convey that to somebody on a cold call, you're pretty damn good at your job.
Yeah.
Especially when it's cold calling and you're calling in a different state that they don't know who the hell you are from Adam. So being able to convey that story in a sense, obviously it depends on what you sell. Some things are so damn hard to sell over the
Yeah.
phone.
I think you
But
also have to know your product that you're selling. Like, do I
yes.
resonate with that product?
Yeah. And then the biggest thing, like I love that you said that. I never took it from that point of view, being able to tell a story. Because, like, I mean, I'm full of stories. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, and that for the last 2 years, 90% of my conversations with you are my past. But,
Exactly.
but being able to kind of convey that through words and within 30 seconds, I think that's what it is. 30 seconds that you're going to catch their attention, or the first 10 is when you're
On a
really going
cold
to
call,
catch
yeah.
them. And that's a big thing that I don't think enough people do. I know, like, all that I'm talking about in the today so far has been from my past failure, because I was terrible at the rejection. I was like, dude, I didn't get decent at rejection until after I was done baseball. Like, and think about that. It probably was detrimental to my career to an extent too. I was terrible at failure, terrible at rejection, terrible at criticism. I was very bad at it. I was just so one track minded. And then once I kind of got out of that, I had no choice when I was thrown into sales to be coachable. I have no choice but to get okay with being told no. And then when them no's kind of slowed down is when I got decent, and I never even thought about it, being able to tell a story,
Yeah.
being able to convey why it's important.
You don't have to be the best cold caller. Like, you do not have to do, and I would say it like me. Like, we know that I go into long-winded conversations, but how I do that is like I become addicted to learning how to communicate better. How can I sell better? And it's what's crazy is it's nothing. It's literally nothing crazy. It's literally just being yourself. And can I talk to somebody like a person? Use my own voice, ask the questions that I need to ask, be me on the phone, and you're more likely to have success. Where you see it go wrong, I told the SDRs literally 2 days ago, I was like, you don't realize that you guys are experts at what we do. It doesn't matter if you've been in this business for 2 months or 2 years. No one is out there practicing how to get out of a cold call. Just not. And
No.
we're practicing every day to make those cold calls. You know more about cold calling than probably 70% of the people that you're talking to. Use that to your advantage. Be confident. Be yourself on the phone. If you're confident in yourself and you let your personality shine through, and you know that the person I'm talking to is just a normal person, they may have the title of a CEO, they're still a person.
Right.
And you can just be yourself, you will have less problems than most people out there. The people that have problems are the people that go, oh, I need to say the perfect thing. I need to ask this perfect question. I need to stick to the script. I need to say these things. Dude, calm down.
Yeah.
You're freaking me out.
Yeah, it makes me stressed.
Jesus, like, calm down. Like, I'm sitting right next to you and you're making me have high anxiety.
Right.
Like, just take a second and breathe. Like, you're a person. They're a
Yeah.
person. Talk to them.
Yeah, and you and I both know we both have done it on the phone before, where you just like you're trying to get the perfect words and everything out at once, and then you had a mini stroke, and then you and I both said to the person, you'd be like, "I'm so sorry, I may have just had a stroke. Can I start over?"
Can I start over?
Yeah, but I think too many people do, especially when they're young. Like, obviously, like the sales development rep are younger kids, the younger people. They're not used to the professional world.
No.
They're not used to talking to these higher up people, and obviously that was all. It was really awkward at first, but like I think a big thing that was successful for me was I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So therefore,
90% of the time, I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth.
Right. I didn't care what they were telling me back or the rejection. I was like,
Yeah.
I remember like my first or second call, he said no, and I just straight up was like, but why? And they were like, just I don't want it. But why? And then I ended up booking them, and it worked.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, I think people try to make it too perfect, when
Yep.
there is no perfect solution. There's just be a human. They're human. Obviously, you got to be respectful of their time, depending on their role. Do their HR managers. They'll talk to you. They'll if you are a person and not salesy on the phone, there is no HR manager in the world, unless they're just having that bad of a day, that won't just have a conversation. If you can keep them on the phone, I'd say, I don't know what you think, 2 minutes. If
Probably
you can
so.
keep them on the phone, there's no reason you shouldn't book them. If you're on the phone for that
Yeah.
long with somebody, there's no reason. And I think that's where people kind of get it wrong, is they have to have this perfect formula of how to book.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
They're like, oh, I need to get
you
everything out in such. It's
right.
like we've seen it, dude. We've seen it too many times where somebody's on the phone, and like there are people that have been close to a year that still
Mhm.
have that issue where it's like you just need to literally just calm down. Like if you
Yeah.
can just not care, and I'm not saying don't care about the person's problem. Don't allow yourself to just get so freaked out. Like you're a person. They're a person. Just talk to them. Calm down. Like, bro, if you could just get your heart rate down from 120 down to 80, you'd probably sell something.
Right.
Like, but and I think we've seen it. Now we've seen it as we've had a more tenured team. This is the most tenured people we had on one team. Now, the most promotions at one time as well. But it's like the most tenured team that we've ever had, and we're able to explain this to more people. It's like, look, if you could just calm down, you'll have more success. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know.
Mhm.
If you could get that, and we've seen it, more people are becoming more successful in our position faster than we've ever
Yep.
done. Like it used to be like, oh, the standard was you could probably do well in 6 months to a year. And now it's like we're getting people to hit full quota months in their second month, in their third month,
Right.
in their fourth month. And they're like doing very well. And they're getting the hang of I can make cold calls and I can be comfortable and I don't care who hears me. Like
Mhm.
that is huge. We didn't have that when we started. We just
Right.
didn't. It was a total different atmosphere, I guess, because the team just wasn't as old and we didn't have people like you and I going, this is how you get better. If you can just calm down, do the things that you be a person and not know all the answers, but still be genuine and sell
Yep.
yourself, tell your story, you will do so much better in this job than I ever did. Like,
Yeah.
look at Alexis. She came from a zero sales experience background, too. And now she's the number one SDR in the department. And it's because she's
Right.
gotten good at being comfortable, being a person, talking to people, and at the end of the day, become a really good communicator on the phone.
Right.
And it's crazy to see that.
A big thing
Absolutely crazy to see.
A big thing too, why Alexis is so damn good, and like why you and I were very good, Spencer, and all the people in our department that are like consistent. The biggest thing, consistent. Like it'd be cool if you're good for 1 or 2 months.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What's I feel that today's day and age, which I'm saying that like I'm 55, but I'm 27. There's just not anymore. There's not enough hustlers in the world anymore. There's like Alexis
They're
is
all
so
looking
damn
for the quick, easy thing. It's like
right.
it
And don't get me wrong, I
realistically, it
did.
might happen. Yeah, I did it
Yeah.
too. But it
I'm not
is
gonna lie,
like
I still go on Google. I'm like, hey, how can I make $1 million as
in a
fast
month.
as possible? Right.
In a month. Yeah. Like
Right, exactly.
because everyone has that dream of like, all right, and it's not that we want money. I really don't think we want money. It's we want the freedom that comes with the money. Like that's the thing. Like I want the freedom to be able
Hell
to
yeah.
do things. Like I don't need to go buy everything in the world. I just need the freedom to do the things that I want without hesitation.
Right.
And it's like that's why everybody chases this pipe dream. Like let me make as much money as fast as possible. Like because it's happened to one person out of
Yeah.
a billion. Like they see it as like, oh, it could happen to me. Like, of course it could happen to you, but chances are it's probably not. But if
It's
you could
gonna
just,
happen, Jathan.
yeah, if you could be a top dog, you don't even have to be the best, but if you could be a hustler and be near the top consistently and perform and outperform most people, you don't have to kill yourself to do it. You just got to be consistent enough to do
Right.
it. And
Right.
I think that's huge too.
I just it's always bothered me. I guess it's because of athletics and stuff. I just never understood why people don't want to work hard. Like they talk about all these things they want and they just and then you just watch them. And you're like, you're literally doing nothing to get there.
Yeah.
Nothing's changing. Like, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again,
expecting a different
expecting
outcome.
different result. So like, I've never understood that. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got my insanity about me too. I do the same damn thing, but it somehow works. Can't tell you how it works, but I found my niche of just being myself, and it's worked for me. But I just never understood why some people, especially our age, dude, like, it's becoming expensive to be a grown up. So
100%.
yeah, you got 2 kids, you gotta know it. But like, I just bought my house. I got my truck running with issues for some reason. Of course, the month to buy my house, my truck's starting to fall apart.
Yep.
Now I realize, like, I've got to hustle, man. I got to make more. I need more. Like, obviously, I agree with you. I don't think it's like I want to be rich. It's like I want the freedom to be able to know that I don't have to struggle.
Yeah.
But I also think people need to struggle.
I think
to
so
get
too.
to that. I think
so too.
I think with that quick fix stuff, if it does happen, just imagine what would happen if they do hit a low point. They're screwed. So it's
and
like
we're saying this, and we don't even make a huge amount of money. Like, we make more than most Americans when it comes to like the average, because I think the average household income is
like
50 something. Yeah.
Something
So it's like we make just a little bit more than that. And it's like, if you're a top dog, you could make like 20 grand more than that.
Right.
And as an SDR, we're not even making huge amount of money. And we could say a huge amount of money, which is really not a huge amount of money. We're not even making 6 figures. And it's like, we recognize this now. And I think if more people start recognizing it earlier, if they're 18 to 25 and they recognize that I need to put the work in, not just hope for something to happen, and I need to be consistent, it would be so much better. And because what it would do is allow them to think.
Yep.
And they would succeed so much faster than what we did, because we didn't realize things until we were later. And we're again, like, we're older, but we, in the aspect of like their eyes, we are older. Mm-hmm. We've lived through those experiences, and we've had to struggle. My goal is to not to struggle my entire life. Somebody else that might be 40, 50, 60-year-old, like, they're listening to this and they're going, you don't know anything about struggle. I don't want to know any more about struggle. Like, I don't care, and I don't want it anymore. I've had it.
I don't want to
put up for it for that long. I want to be able to go to the grocery store or go to dinner or go on a vacation and just do it and not care. Or if I am on vacation, I want to go be able to spend more money and go buy whatever souvenir I want during that time. I don't want to be I don't want to be a lunatic, like, with money, but I just want to be able to do things without worrying about it financially. And I think if more people can get to that space and that way of thinking, they would succeed so much faster than any of us.
Right.
It is crazy.
I think not enough people either. I mean, maybe now in the day of podcasts, I know for me especially, it's like, growing up, all I had money related to like have a conversation about, because I don't think people talk about how to get money or how to get successful enough.
Agreed.
And the only people, and then you and I growing up, I'm assuming you were the same way, the only people you had to look up to in that regard is your parents.
Yep.
And my mom was essentially a stay-at-home mom who took care of us, and then she was a paralegal part-time, and then you got my dad, and it's such a different world, dude. Dad's with the same company for 42 years and just grinded it out. And I didn't know this, like, because I'll be honest, we never really struggled in life. I always got what I needed, went to private schools. Granted, scholarships help college, so they didn't have to pay any student loans or anything. But like, we never struggled. If we needed something, your mom, dad, I need this, or I want this. If I wanted it, I got it. So like, there was no struggle. But with that being said, my dad had to struggle, and we never knew this until we're older. My dad, I remember him telling me I think it was like 1988 or something, his first job, he was paid very well. It was $27,000. He bought a house for $75,000. It was like 1,100 square foot. But then paid his dues. He worked for Entergy, which is a big Fortune.
Massive
100 company, something. I don't even know. It's a huge company. ended up being a manager, but like my goal in life was like by the time I hit 30, I might have six figures. My dad was 55 when he made his six figures finally. And I didn't know that. And so like I think more people need to talk about how to get there and pay your I don't think people want to pay their dues at all anymore. I find that crazy. They just want it up front and you've
Yep.
shown nothing to deserve it, but you're still wanting it. Never understood that. But I think more people need to because like I'm assuming you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and
Yep.
all that. I think people need to read more on that and kind of watch more about business. And that's been my biggest helpful thing is because like my dad never talked about business. My dad never talked about money or because it's hard to realize that people don't stay at companies very long anymore. My dad was at one for 42
Yeah.
years. That's
Well,
low.
you can't. I really don't think you can
No.
anymore. Like our market, especially in the US, just isn't designed for that. Like to retire at whatever age by staying in the same company. There's some companies out there that you probably do it with, but it's just
There's a few I
now
could
it's
choose.
just now it's just probability, like it's not going to last. Going
Right.
back to money though, I think more people I think this is a big reason why a lot of people go into debt. And it's like I know early on I had this false pretense of what people made. And it's
Yeah, me
like,
too.
oh, like, or you get a job and it's like, oh, it's my first big job. Now I'm an adult. Now I can go buy a truck and I can do this. And realistically, I probably shouldn't be doing those things. And I did them and I got into a lot of debt that I really didn't want to be in or need to be in. And it's like, if more people were upfront about money and I'm going, hey, look, you're a teacher. How much money do you make? Why is that such a taboo subject? Like people are so secure about their money. They don't want anybody to know what they make. And I'm just like, if I knew what you made, then guess what? I would know exactly your financial situation. And then I would go, hey, maybe they don't need to be doing everything that I'm doing. And I don't want to pressure them into doing the things that I'm doing if I make more money. Or
Right.
if I go, that person makes $50,000 more than me. No wonder they go on 6 trips a year. Maybe I shouldn't be going on 6 trips a year until
Right.
I get to that point. Or
Right.
are they may make a lot more money than me, but I'm going, they're going on 6 trips a year. They have 4 vehicles, 2 houses, and they're only making 100 grand a year. That's probably not financially secure and smart for them.
Right.
I think if more people got comfortable with talk about income, I think it's huge in sales. Like sales, we know what people make. Because like in sales, we go like, if you make more money, you're a top dog, and people know that. So people are
Right.
more comfortable talking about it. So it's like outside of sales, people don't talk about that, dude. They
I
don't talk about how much money they make. And
I
I think
think
they should.
I'm a little in between with that because I'm still my father's child. I've always been raised. You never ask about anybody's income.
Uh, yep.
I don't think you should ask how much they make. I think you should go, what have you done in your career to make you this successful? Because like, dude, you can tell when people got the money, and you can tell when people are faking it. Like, you can tell the people that are really like ultra successful in their careers. That's what I've been doing. It's like I used to go to Stone Creek, the gym over here in Mandeville. I paid way too damn much money just to work out. Now I pay
Yeah.
49. I was paying like 182.
Yep.
And the only reason I did that, by the way, didn't have money. My mom was paying for it. So so I ended up going there and it was solely not even to work out. Like obviously I went to work out there, but I knew that that's where the most successful people on the North Shore were. They're business owners, they're whatever. And the reason I wanted to do that, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. There's so many different smorgasbord of people and how they've been successful. The most successful guy there ran laundromats, like
Which is
buying,
crazy.
right. He
That's
just
a
would buy
crazy
these
industry.
he'd just buy these rundown laundromats and just revamp them. And I thought that was so cool. And I feel like that's what made me make the decision of, yeah, I've got to dive into sales because eventually this could lead to me being able to create my own business. Because if you deliver the adversity throughout sales, then you can create your own spot, know what works, know what doesn't, and then be coachable. That's the biggest thing, is not being vulnerable enough to go, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. I need help. I think that's one thing people don't do enough of, is admit they need help. But dude, when I would go to Stone Creek and just hear these people's stories and where they started, I'm like, shit, you started way behind me. I could get there too. But I think that's the one thing is like I never discussed how much they made though. Didn't I always felt like it was a disrespectful thing, but like, hey, how much money did you make?
I think
But you
that,
can,
but I think that's learned because I came from the same aspect. I think that's 100% learned.
yeah,
It's not, I don't care how much you make when it comes to, oh, I'm going to judge somebody for how much money they make
right,
because
right,
I don't care.
yeah,
What I go is like, hey, how much money do you make in your career, in your field, in the thing that you do?
yeah,
Because I'm going, I need to understand the outcomes. I don't know enough about the other careers that are out there. I don't
yeah,
know what you could possibly do on that income. And financially, I go, if they're making 50 grand, they can't be doing what someone that does 100 grand does. The person that makes 100 grand can't be doing what $1 million in income does a year. Like that is the difference. If somebody gets into it, go, hey, look, how much do you make? 50 grand. Like, oh, dude, what the hell? Like 50 grand, like that's different. But if you get into it
yeah,
going, hey, look, I'm getting into it because I need to understand your situation. Because what if they do make 50 grand and they're not happy? And then I go, hey, look, what if I could help you? What if I could find
right,
another career for you? What if we work together to help you get out of this situation? Or
right,
what if they go, hey, look, I make 50 grand a year, but I'm 100% happy. Well, guess what? That person is probably better off than most people.
mm-hmm,
That's the
yeah,
difference. I think that
yeah,
is where that situation has to start going when you say, hey, look, how much money do you make? It's not because I want to judge you on how much money you make. It's I need to understand your situation. I
yeah,
think,
for
what
sure,
if you make 50 grand, I make 50 grand, just as examples. Like we say we make that's how much money we make, but I have 2 kids. I have 4 dogs. You live on your own. Like that's the difference. Or I make a
yeah,
100 grand, you make 100 grand. Now you have a family of 4 and I am by myself. Like those situations are a lot different. And we go, hey, look, we might work together, but our financial situation is different. You can't do the
mm-hmm,
things that I do, but I also can't do the things that you do.
right,
It's that understanding would give more respect to every individual that we encounter
yep,
instead of having to set unreasonable expectations or judge people because they can't do certain things or they can do certain things because we don't respect the situation that they're in.
right,
I think that's huge.
yeah, dude, and like that's one thing I really miss about like going to the gym I did. It's like, dude, I'm telling you the different types of businesses and like it starts to trigger something in your brain to where you want to create your own thing too. And that's the big thing that I obviously like I love working in sales, but essentially at some point I'd love to be my own boss. I'd love to be able to manage
100%.
people. I'd love to be able to show people what I've learned and stuff like that. But dude, just watching these guys and the way they move, the way they go about day to day. Like obviously you got some dudes that are just a-holes and they don't want to tell you about their secret and stuff, but like, dude, that's the best thing was like going there because once you are that ultra successful dude, you're gonna want to help other people be successful. And that was what I loved about that the most was everybody was very like they loved that I was wanting to hustle so much. They loved that I was wanting to find my a little way to either make extra or be able to kind of like, hey, I want to pick your brain because I think you're super successful. People
Yeah.
are people, dude. They love when their egos boosted a little bit. They're gonna lie to you and say, I'm not arrogant, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Everybody likes to be complimented on the work they've done because it means that they've done a good job. So, like, you do being able to pick people's brains, I don't think people do that enough. I don't think people because people think they already got it all figured out. Hell no, you don't, dude.
No, you
I'm
don't.
27. I'm 27. Yeah, I bought a house. Cool. I don't have this shit figured out. Still don't know how to pay some of my bills. I call my mom every now and then, and be like, "Hey, I really don't even know where the water bill I'm supposed
Yeah.
to go and pay."
I
But
got
like,
2 kids and I still don't have all the answers. Like, come
well, yeah,
on.
you got 4 damn dogs. The answers
Yeah.
get rid of 2 of
See,
them.
like we don't have the answers, and it doesn't matter how successful somebody is, they probably don't have all the answers either. All they can do is
Dude,
explain their situation. That goes back to storytelling. That also gets back to you going, hey, look, you're going to ask people questions that you don't know. It's getting
yeah,
uncomfortable. I mean, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in that
Right.
situation to better yourself.
Dude, there
At the
ain't
end of
no
the day.
there, and I'll tell you this, there's nothing more uncomfortable than having a conversation with a dude in a spa, in a sauna, and going, hey, you can hardly see their face. You go, hey man, what do you do for a living? How'd you get there? I'm Kyle, by the way. And now you just formed this
Yeah.
bond that could eventually, and not saying it selfishly, but like sometimes I'd go in there and be like, hey man, if I build this relationship good enough, this guy might be able to help me out later on in life.
Yeah.
So
100%.
and it happened. How do you think I got even remotely to net checks? It's like I didn't just apply. Like I had two guys that used net checks that knew Will, that knew they were hiring. It's like, hey, what I think you'd be good at this. Why don't you try this? Because they saw that I was so miserable with my last job. Like I'd come into the gym, and you want to know how miserable I was? This was my lifestyle. I'd wake up at 6. I had to drive 45 minutes to Bogalusa, Louisiana, which is a
Terrible.
terrible place. Terrible place. And then I leave work. By the way, 8 hours of work, and I hope nobody from my last job's watching this. I watch Netflix for 8 damn hours. And then I drive 45 minutes to the gym, and I would stay there until about 9:30 because I was just so miserable with the way my lifestyle was, and I never thought I'd be in this position that I'd stay there just so when I got home I could go right to sleep. Like I didn't have to think about it. And then I ended up finding joy in it because I'm talking to these guys and they go, dude, you're just paying your dues. We all started here. Knowing these ultra successful dudes that could buy a Bugatti if they wanted to, but they're not going to because it's a terrible investment. But buying like all this nice shit and knowing that some of these badass dudes I knew starting at like Winn Dixie and like working at no place. They don't have degrees. They dropped out of high school and they're ultra successful. And that's what I love stories like that, dude. It's like just watching these dudes hustle from the ground. And like, I love the fact that I wasn't handed a job in a very high level position at the beginning because I wouldn't know how to handle it once I got it.
Yeah.
Now that I've done the biggest thing I'm very proud of is I've done something I did not want to do. That was the biggest thing. I did not want to drive to Bogalusa. I did not, and I'm not going to get into the details of what my job actually was. You already know I don't agree with what I was doing. So I switched roles, and dude, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have appreciated being where I am now, being super. I'd say I've been pretty successful with what I've done. There are areas I could be more successful at, absolutely. But from me not knowing what the hell I was doing to being as good as I was and as an SDR, I mean, I'm more thankful for that shitty job now. So, and sorry for the language, people watching. That's who
It's
I
all
am.
right. Well, look, that is a good place to end it. We actually went over. I told you it was going to be easy to talk.
Yeah.
It's like we can still keep going.
Let's say I got some more.
That's what I'm saying. It's an hour. I think that's good enough. I appreciate your time, Kyle. We're gonna wrap it up. And it's pretty easy to wrap it up. Guys, thanks
Hit
for
the
listening.
subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button, like it. Comment. But seriously, leave comments below if you have any questions for me or Kyle. I'm hoping to have him on more often. Would love to get and pick his brain more on the things that we can do for you guys at the end of the day. I hope you guys learn from this, ask questions, put them in the comments. For me, for Kyle, we will get back to them as soon as we can. Even if no one watches this or one person watches this, I hope you got something from it at the end of the day. But for now, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Go out, be you, be great, and peace.